So, a very good morning to everyone. And on today's bright and sunny
वॉल्यूम लो है तुम्हारा शिप्रा.
Yes, sir. Abhi theek aa raha hai? Am I audible? Loud enough?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And we welcome you on this very bright and sunny morning and to the inaugural session of our 3-month certificate course, UGC sponsored certificate course and executive development program on human rights. This program has been organized by the Center for Human Rights and Environment Studies, Ramanujan College. The center was established in February 2015. And since then, the endeavor of the center has been to mitigate, or the mission has been to sensitize the students about human rights issues and impart them the right orientation to carry forward the essence of human dignity for generations to come. Earlier, this course has been conducted. We have had 7 sessions of this course offline. And for the very first time, given the circumstances, we have gone online. So this course has been organized online for the first time to carry forward the mission of this center, Light on Rights. We are extremely happy to have received diverse participation from different quarters of this country, and not just students, but also research scholars, faculty members, and working professionals have joined this course with us. So we welcome you once again. We welcome our dignitaries for today, Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh, our chief guest, Professor S.P. Agarwal, our principal, Professor Jagannath Chaudhary, the director of the Center for Human Rights, colleagues, and all the participants. To begin with the formal proceedings of this session, may I please request Professor S.P. Agarwal, principal of our college, and also the director for the Teaching Learning Center, to formally welcome our dignitaries and give his welcome address.
Thank you, Shipra. Good morning and welcome to all the dignitaries as well as the participants who have always been very kind to us and join in large numbers in any of the courses which we launch. Our chief guest today, none other than our own friend, colleague, Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh, who is always so kind to us that whenever we need him, he is available for us. So thank you very much, sir. At the last minute, we requested you and you are there. It's really a pleasure to have you. My colleague, Mr. Jagannath Chaudhary, Aprazita, Shipra, all other colleagues from political science and other departments who have joined us, Ashish, from statistics, and all the participants who are with us. Once again, I welcome you on behalf of Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, and Human Rights Center, of this college. Friends, as Shipra told you that the center is in place for the last 6 years, and before that also we have been doing this course on human rights, and I think it's already 8-9 years that we have done this kind of course, one a certificate course and another advanced course like diploma course. And this time we have named it certificate as well as executive development program. The reason simple is that we want to reach to everyone. We want to reach to the working executives who are working in the private sector, public sector, and other areas, because human right education is, we feel, is must for everyone, whether you are a student, teacher, executive, senior professional, or anyone. So that is our feeling, and the important aspect of this program, the human right education, and we are connecting it with the environment also, and in the program, you will also study various things under human rights. Especially during COVID-19 also, we faced several problems in this regard, which I think our expert and I will also briefly talk in this regard. But let me tell you that the basic thing, which we want to achieve through this is to educate you so that you can further educate the society at large. That is the main thing. And not only the human rights, but also the duties, because sometimes we focus too much on rights, but we forget our duties. So that is also very important. I don't know the course content, but when I was going through the constitution, it says fundamental duties and fundamental the uh, the duties as well as the rights. So these both things should be together. So when we talk of human rights, of course, I don't know the much the connection, but basically what my feeling is that as a human being, we rather most of the time we talk about the rights, but we should also talk about the duties as a good citizen of this country. So that is very important. Now, another important aspect, as Shipra was telling you, that we have been doing a lot of teachers training program, about 100 of programs we have done, and we have trained more than 150,000 teachers. But now we are shifting our focus to students also and to other professionals, because we are in the process of launching about 40 courses in various discipline areas, as well as the technology areas, because some of them have a focus of employment skill, and another the technology, and another one the journal education courses. So we will be launching it through our edx portal, 40 courses at a time, which anybody in the society can join and learn some new things. So that is another important aspect which we feel is important. Now, friends, another thing, I would explain you with the help of an example, that recently, I visited a factory in Hapur. It's a lamination factory, and the group is very large group, about 1,000 crore group. And when I was going through their factory, it's 24 acres, and I saw that it's not a factory, but it's a jungle. It's a so environment friendly that you feel like that you should always roam around this factory. And when I was talking to its owner, Mr. Loya, he says that because lamination industry is a highly polluted industry, and when I said that how do you take care of this pollution and all kind of problems which you face, he says that our chimneys produce better air than the air outside. So I was so fascinated that the industrialist also is so much conscious of the environment as well as the rights of its own people, because the labor and the people who are working in that factory are being benefited, as well as the society at large, because the pollution production is much lower. And when I further went through his place, then I saw that he's doing so many things, by converting the today the problem of you must be hearing quite often in these times, September, October, November, stubble burning. Now he is kind of producing a technology that stubble is crushed, and then it is converted into a manure, and which is a very fertile manure, because he has developed a chemical or in his own lab, and he's testing it. And he saw maybe that how he has grown this green through this manure, and the kind of greenery he has created with this. Similarly, he was doing so many things, I don't want to discuss each and everything. What he was trying to say, that he's using the circular flow. That means everything which he produces should be reused in different forms. So that is what his idea is. So now why I'm giving you this example, basically just to see that all of us, if we are sensitized ourselves and we can take small steps, like we have in the college, we have taken several of such steps, and similarly the other institution as an individual, or you can guide your students that you can take these steps in your own villages, in your own mohallas, in your own households, so things can be much better for the economy at large or society at large. See, we always blame, criticize the government and talk too much, but we do not follow certain things. That's why I was talking about the duties. Now, another important thing, which I observed during COVID-19, that most of our migrant labor, which we will be discussing, I think, during the course of this, the crisis was too much, and there was gross violation of human rights during that thing. Similarly, we always hear about child abuse. This is a big problem, big menace in this country. Every day on the news there is something or the other. Of course, the country is large, it is bound to happen, it happens everywhere in the world, but we cannot leave all this by saying that it happens, that's why it let it continue. And then the problem of child labor, all these issues are there. A lot of NGOs are working in that direction, but if we work as an individual also in this direction, probably we can make the life different. So the purpose of this course, human right, is to educate all of you, and in turn we believe that you will educate your students, the society, and your families, so that things can be improved in the country. So with this, once again, welcome to all of you, and over to Shipra.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think your address, very aptly captured the essence or the larger framework in which we want to continue with this course and want to conduct this session. Continuing, we have with us Mr. Jagannath Chaudhary, the Director of the Center for Human Rights and Environment Studies. I request him to kindly share a brief about the program and also about the center. So,
thank you, Shipra. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Professor S.P. Agarwal has, briefed, and he lit the candle today, and we shall proceed further. So first of all, I'd like to welcome and thank Professor Ujjwal Singh, a learned scholar on human rights. He's our mentor, our well-wisher, and he has been associated with our center for the last 8-9 years. And in fact, he has drafted the syllabus of our course. And for so many things, and I'm thankful to him. And thank you very much, sir, to join with us within a short span of time. Another friend was supposed to join, Mr. Bimbadhar Pradhan, Secretary General, National Human Rights Commission, but he got an emergency call from Prime Minister's office to apprise the situation. And there is an international pressure about what is going on in Afghanistan. So he promised that he will join with us in the validity session. And Professor S.P. Agarwal, the motivating force behind our center, he accommodates new ideas, and he has got excellent combating skills. If you go with an idea, he says yes, but he knows how to combat and get the things done. And Dr. Aparajita Majumdar, the Deputy Director, she is also associated right from the very inception of this center. Shipra, he is very active, agile, and hardworking coordinator. And this whole program has been organized by her. So I welcome her. Friends, one thing I would like to make clear, so far you have been saying that this is a certificate course, but UGC has given a new name to it, Executive Development Program. Today morning I asked Professor S.P. Agarwal, so what does it mean? Then he clarified that the executive skills we are imparting to the students, those are participants, and this is a development program. You will impart knowledge and you will execute the knowledge. Not that you will learn, but you will share it with others, and you will spread the awareness among the chosen surrounding as you choose. Okay. So let me tell you, there is a golden caption in the south block of Rashtrapati Bhavan that always inspires me. It says, "The rights shall not descend to a person; rather, you have to rise yourself to those rights. Rights are a blessing, but one has to earn it before he enjoys it. So you must know what are your rights, because in India, a few educated people are there. The few of us know what exactly our rights are. We talk about so many rights: natural rights, legal rights, fundamental rights. So this is our sole motto, to educate you what your rights are. You know those rights, and you earn those rights so that you can enjoy those rights. So our CHRS, I think Center for Human Rights Studies, shall provide you the knowledge, and will try to infuse a sort of attitude in you so that you will be much more confident, and you'll share this knowledge with others, and you must get to know the various government and private agencies, those who protect the human rights all over the world. So you'll be the candle holders, and yeah, that is our logo. You can find a light. So light on rights. So with this motive, we have to proceed further. So I'll tell you something about our vision, mission, and objective. The vision of our center is the protection, promotion of human rights, imparting education, sensitization, and spread awareness to one and all. So far as the mission is concerned, our mission is to generate well-aware, determined, and trained cadre of students who will further enlighten their chosen surroundings. And talking about objective, our objective is to provide interdisciplinary approach and a critical insight um, on contemporary issues of human rights. So, in brief, I told you about our vision, mission, and objective, and I think you must, uh, get some inkling that what exactly we want. So I welcome all the participants, and I promise that you'll be getting very good scholars, national human rights experts, and listen them carefully. And then, as Shipra said, we have certain formalities that we must know that what exactly what is. So we must get a feedback from you people, whatever our objective is, whether we have been successful in those objective or not. So I will not take much of your time. Professor Ujjal Singh is there. He will elaborate about all this course and this our mission and vision. So with this, I uh, once again welcome all my friends, and the participants, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for briefing us about introducing to us the vision and the mission of the center. As Mr. Jagannath Chaudhary said that when this course began, Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh was one of the persons to draft the syllabus along with Professor Vijapur and Mr. Ravi Nair. So it is only apt that we have the privilege today with us to have Professor Singh with us, speak with us on this very first organization of the very first online course on human rights. Now, before I invite him, I would like to share a very brief note about Professor Singh. Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh is professor in Department of Political Science, University of Delhi, and has obtained his master's degree from Delhi University and earned his doctorate from School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London. He was earlier a fellow at the Center for Contemporary Studies, Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in Delhi. He is the author of the books Political Prisoners in India, The State, Democracy and Anti-Terror Laws in India. He has co-edited Towards Legal Literacy and Introduction to Law in India, and is the editor of the book Human Rights and Peace, Ideas, Laws, Institution and Movements. He has also co-authored the book, The Election Commission of India, Institutionalizing Democratic Uncertainties. And this book has been published by the Oxford University Press in 2019. His articles undoubtedly have appeared in several national and international journals. He has been a visiting fellow in universities in India and abroad. He was the ICCR Rajiv Gandhi Visiting Chair Professor in Contemporary Indian Studies at University of Technology, Sydney, Australia in 2012. So I can see the unease on Professor Singh's face whenever we share his introduction. But this is a very brief note of the many achievements of yours as an academician and also as a teacher. So with this note, I request you, sir, to share your thoughts about the program and on human rights with the participants.
Thank you so much, Professor Agrawal, for giving me this opportunity. Professor Jagannath Chaudhary, you have guided me for so many years and made me part of this kind of dynamic program, because this is a program which touches our heart. We start with our mind, but it actually goes to our heart. Human rights is not something just to study. It's something which we practice in our everyday life, in our household, in wider society, in our professional conduct. So thank you so much for making this part of program. To Deputy Director Dr. Majumdar, who's been all the time there, to Shipra and Ashish ji and all other my colleagues who are there and participants. See, Ramanujam College is a magnet. You just get attracted to that. Once you do this one program, then you'll come for another program. And I've seen the website, I regularly see the website. They run so many programs together. And with the same set of people. It's not that colleagues are doing the regular work, teaching, research, and doing this. So I think these are very good practices, and one gets inspired by what's done at Ramanujam College. The program is important in many different ways. Executive program in human rights and environment, and I was happy to learn that apart from students, there are colleagues, teachers, and professionals who part of this. So what do we do with this program, and where do we place human rights, concerns of human rights? We know conceptually there will be sessions on this, what is human rights, what we understand, but minimum is something, the values, the rights with which we are born with. As a human, we carry certain distinctive rights, right to life, right to, and then right to liberty and things like comes in. But the primary thing is about those rights with which we are born. And Lokman Bal Gangadhar Tilak rightly said, now 150 years back, Swaraj is our birthright. So even though we didn't have, but we struggle for Swaraj, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak reminded us that it's our birthright. Swaraj is our birthright, and then Gandhi also framed Swaraj in certain ways, and we have a whole legacy of rights. Interestingly, human rights movement in India is older than rights movement in many other parts of the world. So in India, there was ICLU, Indian Civil Liberties Union, started. Raman or Lohia, later, remember, Nehru and Lohia were kind of opposing pole, but during that time, Lohia was their secretary and Nehru was part of it. And Lohia has one of the first texts on human rights. It's worth reading, it's available online. So on civil liberties, you'll find a Lohia's text, way back written in 1936, with Nehru's foreword over them. Rabindranath Tagore, Meghnad Saha, they were all part of civil liberties movement. So historically, you'll find what we think of human rights activists, very few numbers, but people with conscience, whether they're from literature, they're from sciences, they're from administration, journalists, especially teachers, students, they all have joined, they all have been part of it. So one part is trying to understand both global evolution of human rights movement in terms of organizational structure, and another is within the national boundaries, how human rights movement evolved, how it started, what are the shifts, what are the challenges. That's something which we must know. So, for any subject, we need to know something about its history, its origin, its evolution, its different phases, and different principles associated with this. But remember, we need to touch both global and national, because what Professor Agrawal was referring to about the migrant crisis. In fact, if you take a look around, it was there before pandemic. It was like, became very acute during pandemic, and it's continuing now. So you may see actually what is happening in Guatemala, what's happening in Chile, what's happening in other parts of the country, USA, Germany, and then we also have concerns about migrants. So it's something, always try to link up both the global and the national, and you'll get a holistic picture for that. In fact, in his address, what we get when Professor Agrawal was speaking, he gave us an organic understanding of rights, that, rights and responsibilities go together. And it's reflected in Constitution of India, where you have Part 3, which deals with fundamental rights, you have the responsibilities of state, which is directive principles, and you have responsibility of citizens, which are fundamental duties. So, one need not see one against the other. Actually, we need to look at an organic picture of combining them together and pursuing human rights concerns. So the concepts, when we doing a course on human rights, immediately what strikes us are their distinctive concept. So how about fundamental rights, which is part of the Indian Constitution? Are they same as human rights, or human rights is broader than that? Then there's a whole idea of human rights as natural rights, something which we are born with, coming from national law traditions, and then rights which have been achieved through human struggle. Not too far, remember, if you go back around 200, 250 years back, whole struggle against racism, slavery was prevalent. What we see as one of the oldest democracy today, USA, had this completely inhuman practice of slavery. And the residue remains, but there was a whole mobilization against slavery. Civil war was fought on the lines of abolition of slavery. Then if you move to Africa, not again, very old, but say 60, 70 years back, there was apartheid practice in South Africa. So, what it helps, if we go through the history of rights or discrimination, that gives us a lesson that we shouldn't be repeating those mistakes we shouldn't be repeating. And it's not too long in history, it's not so far back in history. Actually, in recent history, you'll find something today which we will say completely inhuman practices were there. Right? Within the own country, within India, untouchability. Okay. Again, you will have reports after reports from various think tanks and NGOs who will say, okay, there are residues of untouchability. They've still been practiced some corners. I'm bringing these back not to question Indian civilization, to say that, we as a part of creator of human Indian civilization need to look at critically what was missing over there and how we rectified that. So untouchability was abolished. And that is the clause in the Indian Constitution which we can, proudly say is the revolutionary clause where untouchability is abolished. So then what happens, once it is abolished through the Constitution, the laws which are framed to implement those promises. So we, in courts dealing with human rights, executive program, we need to be aware of legal provisions also. It's very, very important. So sometimes we give up that, it's complicated, it's very complex. No, those small procedures do matter. When you call to police station, how do you give evidence? What is something called witness? What is the nature of trial? And those things would matter over here. So as a part of someone who's doing a course, executive course on human rights, we need to be also make ourselves more, have developed legal awareness, constitutional awareness, and social and cultural practices, both in terms of denial of rights and ways to strengthen the rights. There is one bit which it will be helpful if we learn a bit about human rights organizations. They come in many shades. So there are many groups which basically concentrate on women, abducted women, women who suffers abuse within the family, women who have suffered because of community practices, and the shelter homes, both shelter homes by the government and NGOs. So the whole range of organizations which are concerned about and who intervene when there is abuse of women and the violation of rights of the women. Likewise, you go to different categories and you'll find that different organizations, both at international level, global level, and the national level, which are there, which actually practice human rights, which are organizations. Say, for example, there's a whole range of civil liberties group. In Punjab, you'll have Association for Protection of Democratic Rights. In Delhi, there's People's Union for Democratic Rights. All India level, you have People's Union for Civil Liberties. Likewise, in different areas, you'll find, and these are citizens, these are voluntary groups. Remember, they don't charge money, they don't take big funding, they rely on individual donations. They don't take any fund from abroad. They have small programs, they have small organizations, and the people like you and me who are part of it. So we are part of it. It's not that something coming from outside. So everyone does their own everyday acts of earning, either as a nurse, as a teacher, as a doctor, as a lawyer. Judges can't, bureaucrats can't, police officials can't in official capacity, but once they retire, many of them do. So we need to know a little bit about organizations, because if we really want to contribute in ways, there's no pressure that you have to be part of it. But if you wish to contribute, sometimes good to be part of these groups, learn how they do that, which brings us to organizations. But before I forget, remember, there is organization at the national level, which is called NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. It plays an important role. It's tasked to defend the rights of the humans. Remember, human, citizens and non-citizens both. That's very interesting. It's not only about Indian citizens. It's also about any person who's in the land, fine? So even the migrants, their rights are protected by National Human Rights Commission. They take the cause as such. So one of the major achievement of the NHRC was to actually provide citizens' rights to Chakmas in Arunachal. So NHRC intervened. So NHRC's intervention is important in many ways as such. And courts and government, they also ask NHRC to intervene. So in West Bengal, when there was a post-war violence, court asked NHRC to intervene. They went and they came up with the report. So, we have to both think of government organizations and non-government organizations, voluntary groups, and above all, remember, there's a very, very important article in the Constitution of India that if our rights, fundamental rights, are violated, then we as a citizen can approach highest court, Supreme Court and High Court, fine, for protection of our rights. Now, it looks like you may just read Article 32 or 226, but this is a huge achievement of Indian people that such right is enshrined in the Constitution, and judiciary is there to protect our rights. But remember, when you go to judiciary is also constantly will remind you that, are you following the responsibilities? Are you actually following? So you may have read in the newspapers 2 days back, when farmers approached Supreme Court said, well, how about rights of the people, right of way. So that's what Professor Agarwal referred to, that they really need to look into organic whole. I wanted to spend whatever 4-5 minutes left with me on methodology, because one very, very important component of this course is what is captured under frame called emerging concerns. And remember, these are very open-ended, kind of frontier areas. It's about environment, citizenship right, human security, and technology and rights. So we live in a virtual world. And in this virtual world, cyberspace, there is a kind of anarchy. There are regulations also. But regulations are not from the state-centric. They are also part of that. Regulations are also coming from firms, platform, fine? WhatsApp, Google. No, I don't know many of these, but they actually restrict. So if there's a hate mail, if it's a hate message, then they come in and they stop. We need to know something about this. What kind of rights practices and what kind of remedies are available on cyberspace. And I'm sure director and deputy director would really give very important concern to cyberspace and rights, because that's something the new generation, last 20 years, all those who joined colleges, they have grown in this world, and it's very, very important, because where it stops, whether, as Mill said, that let the bad ideas grow, people will know and then they will restrain, or is it like censorship is important? So there is a debate over there, but that space we need to do that, and there is a specific methodology to do that. Fine, the specific concern, that's raging concerns, whether national state should do that. I have to say that we don't have to become China or Russia. We will remain Indian and will follow Indian practices, because we are, in that sense, a constitutional democracy, and that has helped a lot, because Google can't work in China, and we as a free society actually have space with all these platforms. Some specific, and I don't know whether in this executive program there'll be space for that, because human rights bodies increasingly resort to newer technology. So an awarded paper was from two members who did a satellite mapping of Uyghur minority in China, in Xi'an province, and they were able to find out what is, how the Chinese authorities are clamping upon minority group in China, because they had to resort to satellite, because they didn't have access in China, physical access in China, and they couldn't get Chinese or the Uyghur minority to speak about them. So, and remember, it's not just it's one satellite images. They actually had to collect thousands of images, bring them together. And I know Ramanujan College has excellent faculty who deals with, GIS and computers and, that kind of technology. So how could they do that? And how through satellite technology, they're able to unravel the persecution of minorities in China. So that's something very important to look at. DNA. It's not that we're going to practice, but we need to know. So in USA, there's a project, DNA project, where they're running DNA test on many inmates who are on death row because of accusation and conviction of them on rape charges. So now through DNA profiling, they're going back to the cases, and it has come to light after 40 years that the person who was convicted was not the person who should have been convicted. He was wrongly framed in that case, and this was shown through DNA profiling. Fine. So because they saved the residue, and then the DNA profiling was done and DNA testing was done. So increasingly, rights group in USA are using DNA tests to ensure that those who convicted and those who are on death row in USA on charges of rape, they either is reproven or they are, found. If there is no DNA link, then they are, found to be innocent. And there are a number of movies and things like this which has been made on that. Chicago 7 is one which is pretty popular on Netflix. You can see that. Forensic is another method. Now we keep on reading in newspaper that somebody dies unnatural death. Remember, as per law, if a newly married woman dies within certain months, then there has to be postmortem. It's rule. Fine. Unnatural death, someone who's found dead on street, there is a postmortem. Custodial death, a death which takes place in police, army custody, it has to be postmortem. Fine. NHRC has made it mandatory that all such postmortems are videographed. We need to know this technology. We need to be aware of these developments. So human rights is not just about a theoretical idea which we need to know, but it's also about knowing tools, technologies, which is there to ensure protection of rights. Fine. So that's something which we need to know about forensic. You have cases of genocide in certain South American countries when no one was left alive. So you don't have witness. In Argentina, there were the opposition, the dissenters, those who opposed the military rule, or Chile, where Pinochet was in power, those who opposed that rule. Many of them were sunk in ocean. They were taken in aeroplane and helicopter and dropped there. How do you do? So then there were new technologies developed to actually retrieve both evidences by family, by witnesses, and build up a case. So human rights practices now are technology driven, scientific, evidence based. It's not just rhetoric. It's candle march is important, but it's more than that. It's more than that. So we need to learn more about technology. Fine. It's not that I'm aware of, in superficially I'm aware, but in terms of practice, I'm sure there'll be resource person. I'll like to attend that lecture, learn about it, how they do that, because I'm aware that this is what should be done, and I'm not trained. So such courses would train people like me and many others over there. So let me conclude with just few ideas. Yesterday it was Gandhi Divas. Gandhi ji, remember, bravely fought and ensured that we achieve our independence. But Gandhi that we know, Gandhi was great admirer of duty. And he said, I learned it from my mother. Fine. Gandhi combined all Indian values, including religious values. Because his satyagraha is as much, coming from women folk on Indian tradition who no, not satyagraha, but who actually do upvas, from learning from there. And all religious traditions have this practice, whether it's Islam or Christianity, they all have this practice. But Gandhi focused upon a lot upon our responsibilities. He certainly said that, if there's unjust law, I'll question that. And if I'm penalized as a seditious, I'll rather embrace sedition. He did so. So he said we have to question unjust laws. But then bulk of his life, most of his practices were about performing duties, ensuring that we follow our responsibilities. So in that sense, organic connection between rights and duties are absolutely important in present day world. As responsible citizens, we need to assert our rights, but also perform our duties. So on this note, I must thank Ramanujam College, who gave me this opportunity to meet participants over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You rightly pointed out that human rights is one thing, but in order to enforce them, the use of technology is the key, because all of us are taken by right that the cyber hackers, they do anything. They create a mail in my name and they distribute it among the teachers. These kind of problems we all are facing, and even if we go to the police, nothing happens. So I can suggest one thing, sir. As you said, that we have some cyber security experts, we can have lecture from them in this, connecting to the human rights. That is a very good idea. And another important thing, these days, even courts, how they are able to find out that the police or any other organization has violated any of the rights only because of the technology, because we have videos available which can be shown in the court of law. Earlier these problems, police used to say something and evidences comes something else, so it's very difficult to interrelate. So I think you have rightly pointed out that the various tools and the technology is, knowing that technology is also important in order to save the human rights. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Professor Singh. And to add, as a way of adding, about technology and human rights, that's why we have divided this course in such a fashion that we begin from the conceptual concerns on human rights, the fundamental issues, because concepts are important, as we have learned from you. And we are going towards the conclusion of the course. We have these emerging concerns, and we have lectures on technology, on human rights and the issues which are coming from technology. We have a resource person who will be talking about what are the fundamental concerns and what are the application areas in which we need to, see the interaction or intervention of human rights fundamentals to understand or to make technology more inclusive. So we do have certain lectures, and we'll be very happy if you could, join us for those lectures. Now, I would like to share with the participants certain guidelines to make this course, more easy to attend. So, we all know that this is a 3-month course, and the reason that we made it self-paced and not just live lectures was that participants, we understand that participants come from a variety of different corners of the country, and they have a lot of other work going on. So participants can learn at their own convenience in this self-paced manner. The information to enroll in the portal where the contents will be available will be shared with you shortly through mail and also through the Telegram channel. The course will follow a 4-quadrant model. This 4-quadrant model has been prescribed by the University Grants Commission and also Ministry of Education, erstwhile MHRD. The 4-quadrant model, includes video content, reference material, assessment, self-assessment, and a discussion forum. So we will try and follow this 4-quadrant model to give you a more, holistic approach or idea on human rights. The new video lectures and the related study material will be uploaded every Saturday. We will also have a few interactive sessions with certain resource persons, and the information of the same will be shared with you all in due time. Participants can access all the course material throughout the week, and they can complete the given assignments, the quizzes within the stipulated time. Kindly note that attempting and submitting all the quizzes and assignments is mandatory. Each session will be followed by a quiz or assignment, or both. There will also be a final test consisting of multiple choice questions. The graded certificates at the end of the course will be given on the basis of this performance. Failing to meet any of the above conditions will result in denial of a certificate of completion to the participants. Lastly, I would like to stress on one simple fact that the success of any course not only depends on the extent by which we can exchange our thoughts and ideas. And human rights is one such, area. So to make it possible, we have a discussion forum where all the participants can come together and introduce themselves and discuss their thoughts and, ideas about different sessions. We urge you all to use this forum actively and make it, a democratic and inclusive space for the exchange of ideas, for the cultivation of new insights on sessions. This discussion forum will be independent of resource persons. Wherever necessary, we will, wherever necessary, if there are any questions, we will post the answers. Otherwise, it is a space which should be managed only by the participants through their exchange of, words. On this note, may I request Dr. Aprajita Mazumdar, the Deputy Director of the Center and also Assistant Professor in Department of Political Science, to give a formal vote of thanks. You are unmute. You're muted. Please unmute. Wait a minute. Yeah. Can you?
Yeah. Thank you, Shipra. So I am here to propose the formal vote of thanks. And I begin with
Shipra?
No, sir. We don't have any questions, I think.
Okay.
On this. So I begin by thanking our chief guest today, Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh. It is always a pleasure and always an honor to have you, sir. And to begin this program with your address is definitely a very, very significant point, because as has been pointed out in the beginning, that sir has been with us through the initial stages of establishing the center and formulation of the syllabus. And rightly, sir, as you have pointed out, that when we look at human rights movement and human rights issues, we start off within the Indian context, we start off with the context of Nehru, Lohia, and the legacy and their legacy and the legacy of Tagore, and the whole civil rights movement, civil liberties movement that have emerged in India. And the other very interesting thing that Sir has stressed, and I think as students of human rights, we should all focus on that, is consciousness, and how rights is not only about what we get from the state or what we demand from the state, but in the larger context, how it leads to our evolved consciousness, and that makes us not only a good citizen, a good human being, but also a very, very important part of all this human rights movement. And then there is this whole global human rights movement and the Indian Indian aspect of it, the national aspect, which Sir has pointed out, and we need to look at both to get a holistic picture. And whether we look at the practice of slavery, apartheid, or untouchability in India, or the treatment of Jews and the whole Nuremberg trial, from which this whole human rights concern have, we have started taking a notice of that. So the syllabus is such that we will cover all of this, and Sir has very rightly laid the foundation of this. Thank you, Sir. And to finally bringing it to the very contemporary issue of cyberspace and the relationship between human rights and the cyberspace, and how technology can empower us, but at the same time can also cause human rights challenges, and we need to address that. So thank you so much, Sir, for being our friend, for being our well-wisher, and always being with us and starting this program on such a positive note. Thank you, Sir. And I take this opportunity to also thank our principal, Professor S.P. Agarwal, Sir, who has always been our mentor and guide, and he always, his positive approach to, yes, go ahead, that kind of makes us strive even harder. Thank you, Sir, for joining us today. I also take this opportunity to thank Jagannath Chaudhary, Sir, for being the support system, the backbone of this center. And always, Sir has always supported us in everything. And today also, Sir, thank you for your kind words. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ashish Kumar Shukla, who is Assistant Professor in the Department of Statistics, who is managing the portal, the LMS through which the participants will be accessing the course. Mr. Krishan Kumar, who will look after the administrative responsibilities. Mr. Ravinder Bisht, who will take care of the technical assistance throughout the program. Definitely all our participants who have joined us from all over the country. And last but not the least, our Sutradhar for this session, Shipra, who has conducted the session and has also handled multiple responsibilities in doing all the background work. So thank you, Shipra, for that. And I hope that all the learners here will have an exciting and enriching next 3 months, and we will have the opportunity to interact also, and at the same time we'll also have to have the opportunity to engage with a lot of conceptual and critical aspects of human rights. So yes, good luck, and hope you have an enriching experience. And thank you all for joining us on this Sunday morning. I know it's a holiday, but everybody did take out time and join us today. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And in the last, thank you to Aprazita, who did a wonderful job in thanking everyone.
I think the background work and the multiple responsibilities cannot be handled without the supervision and without the guidance of Dr. Aprazita Mazumdar, as I lovingly call her, Aprazita team. So thank you so much to you also. And I would also like to thank Dr. Sachin Tomar for, last minute handling of my request of looking after the portal. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for